When you stop doing marketing, it turns out people forget who you are, and then you're subject to the whims of churn rate. Our last CEOs have not been go-to-market focused, so they brought me in specifically to take back to the market. And I have to say, as a startup person, do you know how many janky products I have marketed? You're coming to Kissmetrics. It's a product that $20 million and 15 years of development built. It is stable. It's amazing. In fact, today, somebody made me go off script for a demo, and I was clicking the button, like, oh, is this going to work? It worked. I know that we have the potential to be big again, but it turns out when you don't market a product, you kind of start shrinking.
In this episode, I'm talking to Jenn Steele, CEO of Kissmetrics, a person-based analytics tool that tracks your customer journey across multiple devices. Kind of like Google Analytics, but based on first-party data. We're going to dive into Jenn's professional background, from HubSpot to Amazon and now Kissmetrics. We're also going to talk about her top marketing tips when it comes to attribution and a new marketing channel that the company is testing out in 2023. What is this channel and why does she believe it'll drive a solid ROI? We're also going to try to figure out how much this company makes in revenue. And if she can't answer a question, we both had to take a shot of hot sauce. Wish me luck, Martians. Hope you enjoy this one. Hello, Martians. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today, we have a super duper special guest, Jenn Steele. She's currently the CEO at Kissmetrics. Before Kissmetrics, if you go onto her LinkedIn, you'll see that she's had 20,000 different lives she's worked at.
It feels like it, yes.
She's worked at big companies like HubSpot, where she was the manager of marketing consulting services, and she spent 2 years there. She worked at Amazon and other big companies, like she's worked at Madison Logic, Orson, and now she's at Kissmetrics. And for those of you who don't know, Kissmetrics, they're basically like Google Analytics, except they're like tracking your customers and their entire journey. It's like Jen calls it like a creepy stalker kind of. So we're gonna dive into and their platform, Kissmetrics. They're tracking over 100 million customers, so a huge platform. Before we dive into all of that, Jen, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you so much for having me, although I have a little bit of trepidation as to what's coming up.
Oh, yeah. So, Jen, you're in Seattle, and have you spent your whole life in Seattle, or did you move around a lot for your career?
Moved around. I'm mostly from the East Coast. Like when I was at HubSpot, I was in Boston. I probably spent more of my life in the Boston area than everywhere else. But yeah, I'm not from Boston because I wasn't born there. You have to be born in Boston city limits to say that you're from Boston. So, but yeah, I was born in Europe. I came over here as a little kid, and then I spent most of my life on the East Coast until, Amazon came around, and now I'm in Seattle.
Yeah, so you've been in Seattle since 2011. And since then, you've just always been in Seattle, right? So you got bit by the West Coast.
Actually, I spent 2 years in the Bay Area.
Okay.
I spent 2 years in the Bay Area before I was like, I miss Seattle.
Yeah, you missed the rain. Don't you guys get a lot of rain like Vancouver? Because I'm in Vancouver.
Yeah. I mean, we're a 3-hour drive apart.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens to be across an international border. But, but yeah, I was really messed up. So in the Bay Area, I went for a run in January and with no coat, no jacket, no nothing. And I didn't know what month it was. I didn't know what season it was. I was so confused. I was like, I need to live somewhere with more seasons.
That's true. LA is the same thing, right? They get sun for like 300.
Yep.
Although this year is a little bit weird because some people in LA, they've been raining a lot.
They had like snow or something in the hills. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah. We have some mutual connections. So 3 episodes ago, we had Andy from Gated come on. And I just found out minutes ago that you are an advisor at Gated.
Yes, I love Gated. I love Andy. I love Melissa. I think they're doing a lot of really fun stuff. And I didn't catch Andy's episode, and I desperately need to check that one out so that I can mock him later.
Yeah, let's do that. But before we do all that, you know what's coming up. We're starting off the show with the shot of hot sauce. I have 3 hot sauce prepared. What do you got? What's your weapon of choice?
So I went with this one because you said to be gentler to myself than I usually am, because this is a lot of hot sauce and it has a good flavor.
Yep.
And of course I have something to chase it with. And then if I need it, I have some water.
Just in case.
So this is my arsenal.
All right, Lifeway, you should send Jen a special thank you for that product placement. That is product placement if I've ever seen product placement. So, okay, let's start off with a shot of hot sauce.
Okay.
And the theme is every single time you cannot answer a question, we'll be doing another shot of hot sauce.
Hey, I haven't even had any questions so far. Okay, I have a little measuring thing to make sure I don't kill myself.
All right. I'm going to pour. I'm starting off with a lighter hot sauce, and then I'm going to go up. Mm-hmm. All right, so I filled this spoon.
Okay,
right.
I tried to get a spoonful in here.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. This is habanero. No.
I was like, what are you doing?
So this is from Portland. This is also from Portland. And this one is from Seattle. Nice. I don't know if you know this one. I don't know if I want to try this one, but
I don't know that one. I know a few around here that I really like the taste of, but they would have killed me and I would have been dead.
Okay. When I come down to Seattle, I'll let you try this one. We'll do it together.
Got it.
It's not really fun if you do a lot, but if you do a little bit, it's pretty fun. Yeah. All right. So let's start off the show. Before we dive into everything that you guys are doing and your background and everything, maybe let's give Kissmetrics some love. Tell us what exactly Kissmetrics does, what problem they're solving, and how do you guys make your money?
Sure. That's kind of a big question. Fundamentally, Kissmetrics, kind of as you said, we allow you to be a creepy stalker. And what I mean by that is we do behavioral analytics across your website, your apps, your SaaS products, your e-commerce sites, right? Anywhere that people are basically using a computer and interacting with your company on a property that you own, right. We can track. I mean, heck, we can even track desktop things because people can submit events to the API. And then we tie it all back to a single ID. For most folks, that's an email address, or it can be a user ID, it can be a phone, it can be whatever you make it. And the cool thing about that is that And we can track custom actions. We can do a lot of things so that you can say, okay, how do I want to look at my users? How do I want to see how they're behaving? Like, do I need to answer questions? What questions do I need to answer? My favorite question that kind of drives this home is, I have a really big marketing background. I'd write a blog post kind of about a feature, right?
Yeah.
We launched a feature, et cetera. And then people would use the feature, but I couldn't tie the two together. Right? Or I'd run a campaign on the feature, but I couldn't tie the two together. Because we track the people throughout their entire journey, you can run a quick report to say, of all the people that saw the blog post on feature A, how many of them used feature A?
Yeah.
And that's just a simple business question to answer, but it really tells you the effectiveness of what you're doing.
Right. So there's this whole thing when I talk to any CMO, there's this whole thing about cookie tracking and how that's being phased away. Mm-hmm. Like Google is planning to phase that away in 2024. There's been a whole thing about iOS up.
Oh yeah, they've been planning to phase that away like in 2020 and 2018.
Keeps pushing forward. Are you worried at all about all these platforms planning to stop cookie tracking and like protecting user data and not allowing you to retarget as easy, and maybe tracking is also going to get harder? Are you worried about that at all?
Yes and no. So we don't do anything with third-party cookies. We're first-party only, which helps because third-party is the first one they're going to kill off. And then, honestly, internet stalker, creepy stalkers will always be able to find you. No, seriously, there are other technologies that we can use in order to really track your people across your website. It's somewhat unfortunate, but at the same time, it's always a balance between doing what your customers want, i.e. leaving them alone, and doing what your customers need, i.e. telling them about your benefits. So I've always had the opinion that, okay, let's say all cookies go away, and we haven't implemented the next generation technology, which of course we're developing now. And a lot of other people are too. We're not like that smart. But let's say that we didn't do it. Okay, so now your whole marketing website is anonymous. And that's okay. I mean, I can't necessarily tell you who looked at your blog post and then use that feature, but you can still report fairly well on what's happening with everything that you're doing. I mean, it's not the easy straight line from a campaign to revenue, the way that marketers really want, but you can still measure marketing by the old vanity metrics that we all hate now. How many people came to this blog post? How many people did this thing? How many people did that thing? And it's my opinion that good marketing will always lead to revenue, even if you can't track it. And that's blasphemy for the CEO of a metrics platform to say, but still, I think good marketing it will work, and we will find a way to measure it.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about, because I know a lot of what you do is first party data. So it kind of blends in SEO and PPC and just any way that they've come to land on your customers' websites. But talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the PPC world. A lot of companies are cutting back budget, right? I don't know if you're seeing this at all, but I would love to hear your opinion. And it's a lot of this is because it's difficult to attribution is kind of all over the place. It's really wonky. Yes. People are using the word called dark social now. It's just like an area that you just cannot track.
Be careful. Kissmetrics has that, or is it dark funnel? Not Kissmetrics. Sixth Sense has one of those trademarked. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about that? When marketers, because marketers want to know every single dollar, where it went, and they want to track everything, right? Mm-hmm. Totally understand. But that's
because their CEO expects them to.
Because their CEO expects them to. Are you on the camp? You know what? Before I ask any deeper, I just want to hear your thoughts on that and just your overall thoughts on, attribution for PPC.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because I used to be co-head of marketing at Visible before we were acquired by Marketo. So I have opinions with a capital O about attribution. Okay. The interesting thing is that after I worked at Visible, I then worked at some companies where maybe the CEO didn't believe in attribution, or maybe somebody else thought that first touch was the way to go, or hadn't had very strong opinions about that. And I'm sitting there going, excuse me, expert here. And I actually eventually came to the conclusion that the best attribution is whatever the heck your company can agree to use. Now, in marketing, you need to be able to draw some straight lines. Yeah. But honestly, if your CEO is not going to believe it, don't show them.
Mm-hmm. That's true. There are some CMOs that are coming up now and saying that there are some areas where you're spending money that is just not going to be trackable. Let's say your CEO is like, I want to know every single dollar, where it went. I want to know the performance for all the paid channels and everything. And it's just getting harder and harder to track. There are some CMOs that are on the camp where it's like, look, we're drawing this line on the sand where 30% of our spend is going towards branding and brand awareness. That is just not going to be trackable. We're going to talk about high level numbers like views and impressions, but we're not going to be able to track what happens. And there's not going to be a revenue number tied to it. Some CMOs are saying 30%, some CMOs are saying 50%, some are even saying 60%. Are you on that camp? Do you believe that there should be a budget that is just not trackable, that's just for awareness and just good old marketing?
So, I grew up through product marketing. I did a little bit of demand, but I'm mostly brand and product marketing, which are, of course, the unmeasurable marketing pieces. So I want to say yes. I do want to say, though, and while I don't think people should spend billions and billions of dollars trying to figure out what their brand spend got them, because I've also taken part in those things of so if we do a survey and we do it this way, then maybe we can look at this and we can look at that and we can benchmark this. And I'm like, and now I'm spending half my brand budget on just figuring out how the heck to measure brand. This doesn't even make sense. But there are proxies. So, for example, at my last company, when we raised our Series B and we did a big freemium launch.
Was this Orson?
We actually got
a Reprise.
No, this was Reprise. Yeah. Yes. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. As long as they spell it right on the check, we're all fine. so, so that I stole that from one of the co-founders who used to say that to VCs. That was not original. I just thought I'd point that out.
Oh,
But so we were able to see uplift everywhere. Like when we looked at we didn't know about Kissmetrics. I didn't know about Kissmetrics until we looked at Google Analytics. It was a pain in the butt. I made somebody else do it. And we looked at geographically and basically like time series. So there was like before and after we started advertising. And did we see more of an uplift in the 3 geographic areas that we spent all the money to advertise? Like we had cab toppers, we had bus stations all the way up and down like Market Street in San Francisco. We had the NASDAQ billboard. We had all sorts of really fun things. And the answer was yes, we did see an uplift in traffic. Now, you can't know which of those eyeballs actually came from the billboard and converted to revenue, but you could prove that. And of course, we found one fun thing, and that was that it was like, wait, another area, the 4th geo with a big lift was Virginia, rural Virginia. And we realized, oh, that's AWS US East. That's people are using VPNs. And so Google Analytics thinks they came from Virginia.
oh my goodness. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, how much of it do you think, how much of performance marketing is just a function of the way the internet made things so much faster for us? And marketers just want the answer right away. They want to know what's working right away. Like as soon as a view comes in, I want to know exactly where it comes in from, how that drives to revenue. And now even our videos are getting faster from 20-minute clips. We used to be able to sit down for 20-minute clips, and now it's getting 5 minutes and then 1 minute. And now we can't even barely wait 6 seconds. How much of that is just our just the way that where our brains are wired now, and we just want answers right away, when really marketing just comes down to like, just be creative. Like if you have a creative idea, the numbers will come through and you just got to wait.
Well, it's be creative, talk to your target customers the way that they talk and the way that they want to be talked to, and be where they are.
Be where they are, yeah.
So actually, you're talking about brand, you're talking about product marketing and messaging, and now you're talking about demand gen is really be where they are. Like making sure the messages are in the right places and that they can find you.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Kissmetrics. I want to learn more, and I'm sure the audience is dying to learn as well. Where you guys are at, you guys are probably one of the larger analytics platforms out there, next to.
You would think so, but actually we're not. We're fairly small. We do handle a lot of, we have some enterprise customers that pump a lot of users through, or a lot of their users through. But Kissmetrics kind of fell off the map for a while. Like I remember it back in the day, when I was at HubSpot and stuff like that. And actually, until they came after me to be CEO, I was like, oh wait, they're still around.
Really?
Who owns them now?
Obviously, I know. Like you and I, like we've been in marketing for a while, right? So you and I both know, and we recognize the brand. But I didn't know that. I didn't know they died off.
Yeah, I mean, we're not dead yet, but it's people like when you stop doing sales and marketing. I mean, this is kind of a marketing podcast, right, or marketing video. And when you stop doing marketing, it turns out people forget who you are, and then you're subject to the whims of churn rate. So our last CEOs have not been go-to-market focused, and so they brought me in specifically to take Kissmetrics back to the market. And I have to say, as a startup, mostly marketer, although I've done sales as well, but as a startup person, do you know how many janky products I have marketed? Like, maybe we're not going to market that feature because it doesn't work. Or I'm going to tell you it does this because they tell me in 3 sprints it will. And like, that's how I'm used to it. Here I come into Kissmetrics. It's a product that $20 million and 15 years of development have built. It is stable AF. Like all the features work. It's amazing. In fact, today somebody made me go off script for a demo, and I was like clicking the button, like, oh, is this going to work? It worked. It's amazing. So I know that we have the potential to be big again, but it turns out when you don't market a product, you kind of start shrinking.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of hot sauce questions here now. Well, I'll ask you
Okay.
rapid fire around a couple of questions and see how many you can answer.
Okay.
So, how much money have you guys raised? Kissmetrics.
Over all the years, around 20 million.
Around 20 million to date. Okay. When was the last round? Do you remember?
We had some private investment in 2019.
Okay. And that was roughly because you started in 2022. So about two years or 3 years after that. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know what valuation that was at? Okay. There you go. Let's go. Let's do this. Okay. I'm stepping up the game now. I'm going to the next level 2.
Okay.
We're going level 2.
Okay. Turns out this sticks to the side, so I'm going to actually put a little bit more in this time.
Right. Oh, and there's a delayed light in the back.
Oh,
Cheers.
is that supposed to be the hot sauce light? Okay.
Okay. That is spicy. Yeah.
I am really glad that I eased off the spice on my lunch. As we were discussing earlier, I usually put jalapenos in and things like that. And I'm like, maybe not today.
Yeah.
Oh, are you okay over there? I wish I could hand you something.
I wish I can just grab that off of you right now. So this has a Carolina Reaper, and
oh my, you are a brave soul.
yeah, I'll bring it to Seattle. I'm gonna get you and Annie to try it next time. But all right, let's see. I'm gonna be careful with what else I ask, but so you guys have raised some money. Do you know? Can you name some of the bigger investors that invested in the previous rounds?
Honestly, I can't. I don't know off the top of my head. And my current investors are a bunch of private folks because they bought it from them. So nobody currently in the company is from a major investor that invested in the past. Like nobody on the board, et cetera. I changed ownership in 2019.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Sorry. After all of that, I choked on the freaking kefir, by the way. There was a piece of mango in it. Went right down my throat. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, that is so spicy. Okay. So all right, let's talk a little bit about marketing. Since you've taken over the ring, you've been more focused on GTM. So talk to us a little bit about maybe your marketing budget, like as part of your GTM, like how much are you allocated for marketing spend per month or per year or whatever?
Honestly, it's project based right now. So like I want to spend $10,000 doing this paid search experiment, or I want to spend $30,000 doing this video for YouTube. And so it's a little on the haphazard side. And also we actually are self-funding and profitable. Right. And so, slightly profitable because, it is an economic downturn. So everybody's a little janky right now, but, as a result, it's almost like my marketing budget is what I can afford to spend after the rest of my bills are paid. I
see. Speaking about the marketing of the downturn, are you guys experiencing the effects of the so-called downturn?
Yeah. Our customers are not all on annual contracts. In fact, a lot of them, especially the smaller ones, are on month to month. And while our churn metrics are actually pretty good, we did have 1 month last year. I think it was October, like when everything seemed to be falling apart, and churn spiked. And of course, I've been at the company like 3 months, and wow. I was like, this isn't sustainable.
How high did it go up to? You remember?
It was between 5 and 6%.
Oh, that's still not so bad. That's still okay.
Well, except that I've had other months that are like very close to zero. Yeah. So, and yeah, I'd prefer to keep those. This last month, it was actually net negative, which is good, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So marketing budget is on an ad hoc basis. Not super high, $10,000 to $30,000, not including headcount, right? Just on the
right.
The marketing. And where are you guys spending? Like name your top 3 or 4 marketing channels.
Well, up and coming is YouTube. That's actually how we're going to go after Google Analytics 4 because that sucks to set up. And so I've actually, I shot it. People can see my shining face, telling them that they will swear less with Kissmetrics. And so we're going to try some pre-roll stuff on YouTube. We have a nice history of SEO. So actually our inbound and organic still pumps, tens of thousands of people to our website every month, which is amazing. I would have killed for this kind of traffic at some of the companies that I worked for. And it converts. I mean, we only have a free trial and a demo request. And over the last 30 days, I actually just pulled this up this morning, we had an aggregate conversion rate of 2.74%, which for bottom of the funnel offers isn't bad. Wow.
2.74% for bottom of the funnel offers.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, and we're not even really trying. That's pure organic. Because I don't have any paid ads running right at this moment.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So, my go-to-market motions right now are basically inbound and product-led growth. Product-led growth isn't working as well as I'd like it to, but working on that. And then the channels are really organic, and then happenstance paid when it makes sense.
So I'm looking at your guys' site. You guys have incredible domain authority from an SEO standpoint, tons of backlinks, strong organic traffic, basically all over the world. For a site like Kissmetrics, where you guys are already doing so well and ranking so well for so many different keywords, what else is there to do for you guys? Like, what are you guys working on for SEO?
So I recently... Onely, Onely, was nice enough to do a technical SEO assessment. And actually, we're going through that punch list right now. We've got a few things that take a while to load. Like our drift bot, for some reason, is really laggy. And they say we need to redo a bunch of other things. And so a lot of it is just cleanup and then trying to speed up the WordPress site.
Hey, so you guys are on WordPress and you guys have what's your experience been with the drift bot?
My sales team has asked me to take the bot off the site.
Whoa.
They find it annoying. They would rather have a demo request come in. And I think some of it is because we don't have it well constructed. And because my sales team is a little too, we don't have the capacity to staff it all the time. And so when you don't have the bot constructed right and you don't have it staffed right, then you end up with a lot of orphaned conversations, and they're frustrated by that.
Yeah, I see. We just interviewed a company called Flip CX. Have you heard of them?
Okay.
I forget where I think they're based. I want to say, I'm not even going to try to guess. I can't remember. But I spoke with the CMO, and he's based in Utah. And they have a bot that they're working on that is based on AI technology. I mean, you throw in the keyword AI, and it's gonna be popular regardless. But apparently, they're working with some pretty big name companies. I don't know. There's so many other bots out there, right?
Yeah. Some of it is just when you lack resources, you have to prioritize. And so, for example, I prioritized getting the free trial on the website rather than getting the bot off of it.
Yeah. So just to recap, organic SEO, very strong, probably your number one channel. You guys are working on YouTube right now. Just when you say YouTube, you're working on ads, right? Mostly ads on YouTube.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other channels that works for you guys aside from organic SEO and YouTube?
Those are what I have the resources to do right now. Because otherwise, we're still refining processes and making sure that I don't know, if you want to buy Kissmetrics, you can.
Yeah.
We want to make that easier.
Yeah. What about events? A lot of companies nowadays, they're cutting back on performance marketing because it's harder and harder to attribute, and people are kind of thrown off that you can't retarget as well as before. especially the performance marketers that have done so well in the past 5 years when retargeting was easier.
Right.
And so they're cutting back on performance marketing and spending a lot more money on events. Are you guys doing anything for events right now? Are you guys full in on events, or are you kind of taking a backseat on that?
No, we're not. I love events, but they're expensive. And I just don't have, like, if I have $30,000 to spend, I can do one event, or I can do 2 months of YouTube advertising. And I'm going to do 2 months of YouTube advertising right now instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, events are expensive. One interesting way that we've heard companies with a tighter budget attend events is, rather than sponsoring events, they just attend them and they film content there.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that something that you guys are potentially looking into, or is that?
If I were better at filming, I will. I have attended events, and I will attend events because I'm I'm the face of Kissmetrics, but also I've got my own personal brand in MarTech, and so luckily I'm at a MarTech company. So, like, a Forrester event is coming up soon, I might just go.
Yeah, yeah, and you're also very involved with other organizations, like you're part of Women in Revenue,
right? Part of RevRoom. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
How many communities would you say you're a part of?
Well, according to Slack, it's like 70,000. But excuse me. I would say 4 or 5 that I'm a little bit more active in. There's the product-led growth community. There's a marketing operations community, Women in Revenue, RevRoom, and the one I'm most active in still is the CMO Coffee Talk.
Oh, CMO Coffee Talk. Oh.
Yeah.
Which one's that? I think I've heard of that. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's the one that Heinz Marketing and Sixth Sense co-sponsor it. It actually grew out of some old Heinz Marketing breakfasts that I used to attend in person. And then with the pandemic, it has now turned into a robust every Friday morning seminar, 2 different times for the different coasts, and the best Slack community ever.
That's from Matt Heinz, right? That's the one. Yeah. How many CMOs are a part of that group now?
Apparently the general channel just passed 3,000, but some of us have had to create new accounts as Slack wouldn't let us change our email address back in the day and things like that. So I would say probably around 2,500.
And do you regularly attend the coffee chats, or you?
The Friday thing? Yes, I do. And I'm really active on the Slack as well. We have a rants channel that is spectacular where people just rant about things.
Nice.
I have posted many times in that channel, many times.
Yeah. So what typically happens at these CMO? Because one of the things that what I find a lot of mid-level marketers struggle with, people can stay around that mid-level marketer, as in kind of senior marketing manager. Uh-huh. They can be stuck in that area for like years and years and not be able to break through and get to that VP level, director level. And a lot of times it's just because you don't have a network of people that are CMOs and that are senior enough and that think in a certain way. So what I find is what's missing is that they just don't have that community. What usually happens, talk to us a little bit about the community that you're part of, especially at CMO Coffee Chat. Like, what do you guys talk about?
Yeah.
What's the structure, et cetera?
I think with communities, it's really valuable to have peer communities. So, for example, you can't join CMO Coffee Talk unless you are the top marketer in your company. I don't have a top marketer. I actually have to leave the group once I hire a CMO. So at least I promised Matt that I would. So, and so I don't know what to tell mid-level marketers because transparently, I didn't spend much time in the middle. I'm the kind of person that I love small companies. It's easier to rise up faster, and I'm a natural leader. And as such, I haven't had to network all that much, although I definitely got my last few jobs through networking. Actually, my last mini job through networking. So I would say, even though I've never found a mentor, I've heard finding a mentor really helps in making that transition. And there's a very big difference between doing and leading that people don't quite understand. There's not a big difference between doing and managing the doing.
Right.
but there is a difference between doing and inspiring other people to do and letting go of it and letting them do it their way. And I think a lot of people get stuck in the middle because people can't see them doing that little acrobatic work.
And it's not as I love what you just said about kind of letting go, but it's not just letting go, because if you just let go and they might drown in,
They might. Some people need to drown. I mean, there are seriously people who, and I'm married to one of them, who needs to be given enough, they need to be given enough rope to hang themselves before that they can actually take off and fly.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of figuring out, okay, here's me as a leader and here's you. And I was almost lucky. I was so underwater when I managed my first team. And this was in IT and I was in my late 20s. And I was so underwater that I had to let go. And it would drive me crazy when they would do something very different than I would. And then I realized that sometimes that was a really good thing. Like I had a dude that worked for me that was a box checker, and I am not a box checker. I stink at lists. And so having him be very careful and very conscientious, did it drive me crazy? Yes. Was it phenomenal to have? Oh my gosh, yes. And so I started saying to myself, people don't do things like I do things. And that's good.
I think we all have different strengths, right? And then and weaknesses. Yeah. And it sounded like, it sounded like you had a lot of different ways of. Were you more creative? Would you say? Like, what was your biggest strength when you? And I assume this was around the time where you were at Morrison Mahoney, when you were kind of director of IT.
I was an IT director. Yeah. So I actually grew up through mostly science and math. I went to MIT. I have a degree in biology. So if you ask me if I'm a creative, I would say no. If you ask people if I am creative, they usually say yes, because I think sideways, right? I'm a systems thinker and I'm like,
there you go.
Or let's just do it that way. And so, I was talking, a friend of mine is like a script writer, and to me, that's real creative. And I was like, you're more creative than I will ever be. And he's like, no, Jen, you're just different creative. You're like periodic table creative. Wow. And I think it's just your creativity is how, I know accountants who are creative. Why are they creative? Because they can look at something like a spreadsheet that makes me go cross-eyed and they can say, here's something we're missing. Wow. This is interesting, right? And I just think it's how you define creativity.
When did you know that you were a good leader? Like, was there like one moment or like a team that you managed where you're like, holy crap, I think I'm pretty good at leading people?
Yeah. So the very first team I ever managed, I started putting together when I was like 27 or 28 years old. And then 5.5 years later, I got laid off from that job. And when I am in Boston, that team still gets together for drinks. And we have not worked together for, let's just say 15 years, give or take. So, and they start telling me things and at some point we become friends instead of I'm the former boss and they're my former peons, right? And so they start telling me things like, yes, but you're unusual. You are not, you lead well. And I've tended to keep in touch with nearly everyone I've ever managed. And I get that feedback. Now, either everyone is getting together blowing smoke up my butt, or I'm a decent leader. And I choose to believe the second because that helps my self-confidence.
Yeah. And what do they usually say? Like, when they explain why is Jen a great leader, what do they usually say? Is it because you're really honest? Like, what I find in common with leaders are radical honesty. And ability to take people's feedback, like actually take their feedback. Like there's a lot of commonalities.
My sales manager was telling me that yesterday, literally was saying, you take all of our feedback. And I'm like, yes, because I would do stupid things otherwise. And he's like, you just don't have an ego. I'm like, okay, I have to correct you there. I totally have an ego. but still, I really think there are two things. One is that I really value people. Right. I actually think that every human being has value. And the best part of my job is to make people's lives better and to grow people around me. And whether that's grow them, like explore a taste in wine or be a shoulder to cry on or help them with their next step in the career, like that's where I get a lot of my satisfaction. And that's part of why, I'm active in communities and things like that.
Yeah.
So I love people. And the other thing is that many brains smarter than one brain. I don't care how big I think my brain is. I am not going to be right all the time. And I have very, very big blind spots. And if people do not feel comfortable coming to me and giving me feedback, we're dead in the water.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you also are quite humble as well. Like you don't think that you know everything. I mean, maybe you're not. I mean, look.
I know I don't know everything, but I've had to learn that the hard way.
As leaders, once you get up to the CMO, CEO level, you've had enough experience. Obviously, you're more experienced as other people in the room.
Right.
But recognizing as a marketer, as a business person, that things change so quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there's no way you can stay on top of all the trends. Like there are 21-year-olds that will kick our butts at everything regarding to TikTok, right? I know nothing about that, but I know enough, and you probably know enough to be able to give some nuggets and then pass over the rain, right? Just know that people are better than us, right?
Yes. Here are the themes we want to hit. Go.
Exactly. Okay. So you got some pretty good marketing channels that you guys are gonna be testing. YouTube, organic. Do you know roughly like your CPA, like what it costs to acquire a customer? Do you have stats like that?
I do not.
You don't know the CPA? Okay.
Nope.
Do you know the LTV of a customer?
Yes.
What is that?
I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I know it.
Oh man. Okay. While we do that, I might as well ask another question so we don't get in trouble twice. Where are you guys at in terms of revenue right now?
Yep, not going to answer that one either.
I saw somewhere online, so we might as well do it all in one shot. I saw somewhere online that you guys are somewhere around 10 plus, somewhere between 10 and 20 million.
That is not correct. I'm not going to tell you which direction that is not correct, but that is not correct.
All right. Well, we're taking one. We're just taking one.
Okay.
All right. I'm doing a small one again because this is Carolina Reaper.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, is that going to get hotter? I'm just doing the same sauce every time.
Yeah. Whew. That is. Oh my God. All right. Maybe let's not talk about revenue. How many customers do you guys have? How many customers have right now?
Sometimes it's tough to tell with product-led growth because it's like, oh, let's run the numbers and see how many customers we have. Currently, we have between 200 and 300 active user accounts. Some subset of those are probably a majority of them paying you money. Okay.
And you guys have some...
I mean, we've got a bunch of... We have some enterprise customers as well. Those I know are customers. They're not as, sorry, they're not as flaky.
Who are some of your larger clients? I know Carvana is one of your clients. Is that like your largest client, or you have other clients as well?
Right now, Carvana, yes, they're huge, and they use us for our data aggregation. They actually don't run reports on our system, which is really funny. And then there's a lot of others. I mean, you can see them on our website. I am blanking on them right now because that hot sauce really got to me. I'm like trying not to cry.
It is getting spicy. Yeah, it's really, all right. Yeah, I don't see, I couldn't find anything on your website. I know Carvana for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. I can name some.
Yeah. And hey, Gated is a customer. So anyhow.
SendGrid, Unbounce, Microsoft, Lucid Chart. They're all customers that are on your website. Are those all your customers?
I need to verify some of them. There's one in there that I'm like, oh crap, I think that churned. So I need to verify some of them.
Okay. All right. So this did not come from
I'm
Jenn.
behind on a lot of things, including the website. And I'm like, I don't quote me on everything that's on the website. There's like one page of managed
All right.
it.
Those companies I just listed, not quotable. Those are not quotable. So we'll
not quotable.
cut those off for a second. What's your best performing channel, would you say, by CPA or ROI? I have a guess, but I want to hear from you.
It's organic. It's like I have a hard time making anything perform as well as organic right now. And that is not usual. That is not my normal experience. It's just organic is kicking the crap out of things, which is why I turned off paid search.
Yeah. Oh, you guys turned off. When did you guys turn off paid search?
I did some experiments with it in August, September. And my consultant did some experiments. I've used the same guy forever. And we just couldn't crack it in that amount of time from a conversion rate. And so he even said, Jen, I hate to do this because it cuts my commission, but I think we should turn this off. Yeah,
it's getting ridiculously expensive, right?
Yeah.
PPC.
Yeah. Our CPC was pretty high compared to our ACV because we have so many small customers. Our ACV is like basically 10K. And that's a breaking point for a lot of paid channels. Like if you don't have an ACV of more than 10K and you tend to get smaller customers through those channels, like your payback period is too long to matter.
Exactly. And CPA can be like, in the thousands, 4,000 or 5,000, depending on where you guys are at.
And then I'm lucky that I have like a 42-month LTV. Like people stay. I have customers that have been on the platform for more than 10 years. But even then, if you're only paying $300 a month, it's going to take a long time to pay back an acquisition of $6,000.
Exactly. Was that your CPA? Was that what you guys found with your test?
No. Because I was only running tests, my CPA was almost infinite if I looked at channel spend.
Exactly.
I had like one customer that was going to convert. I mean, there's a reason I quit doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys do any kind of like BDR kind of type stuff? SDR?
No. As I said, we do not do any outbound. And what's interesting is I hear from, especially my friends in Rev Room, because a lot of them are in sales, that outbound is suffering badly right now. And so, but my ACV is too low. I mean, when Aaron Ross wrote Predictable Revenue, he even said back at the time that 10K was the line, and that was more than a decade ago. So that line is higher now. Oh
yeah, for sure. And like we talked about earlier, we're kind of in a recession, so companies are just holding back on their spend, putting a pause on everything because interest rates are increasing. So the sales, I've heard that the sales periods have been delayed just a lot longer.
Oh yeah, what was a 6-week sales period is now like 12 to 15. What was 12 weeks is now 6 months. What was 6 months is now a year. Absolutely, I've heard doubling anecdotally.
Doubling, yeah. And for you guys, what's the sales cycle now? Like historically, and then what is it now?
Historically, I don't know. When I got in the door, there was literally no sales. Like we didn't know how to close a deal. And so I have a salesperson now. He can close deals. He is closing deals, closed a couple of really nice ones last month. But the sales cycle is really like 8 weeks, which is a long time for a low ACV product.
Yeah. All right, let's dive a little bit into, while we still have you, let's dive a little bit into your back. So, I mean, obviously.
Okay. Hopefully I can answer those questions because I dread doing another hot sauce shot.
Oh, no more of that. I don't want to do it for my health, my personal health.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So we've already dove into your background. We don't need to do it again, but big companies, HubSpot, Amazon, now Kissmetrics. Where do you attribute all your success? You talked about not really having a mentor but like where do you attribute your success?
Sorry, the first thought that came into my mind, my grandfather used to say that every time he found a parking spot in Manhattan, it was because of clean living and high ideals. So I almost just gave you that answer. I want to say that my career path has been frustrating because I feel like I'm the epitome of the difference. There's our cartoon, what people think success looks like, and it's a straight line, and then what success actually looks like, and it's this tangled knot.
And it's like your face. It's just your face, like just Jenn Steele's face right there.
And it's like, and I have been all over the place. Some of it is I tend to look to overcome my weaknesses. And I tend to try to fill holes and gaps. But also, there's a couple things. One is that I apparently built enough of a personal brand that companies started coming after me. And so that, like Madison Logic came after me, Arson came after me, Kissmetrics came after me. Right. And so that's been useful, and just being a person that people kind of like. But also I love to learn and I love people. And I think that some of what you see in my career path is just like, oh, what's over there? That could be fun.
Yeah.
And then as far as success goes, some of it is how you define success. My title looks great, but I can fail at this, right? It's relatively easy to fail as a CEO. People do it all the time. I'm a first-time CEO. We'll see if I do it. But I can also define it as a success because I'm like, well, do I like the job? Do I not like the job? And have I learned something?
Yeah, no, I agree with the personal brand. You've been at it a lot longer. Right now, I see
that's because I'm a lot older.
I see that you're quite active on. I'm not going to comment on that. I see that you're quite active on LinkedIn right now, and like some of your posts, 200 likes, thousands of impressions. Like a lot of people know you. Have you always used LinkedIn from the beginning, or did you use other platforms? Like, were you active on Twitter? Like, how did you build your personal brand pre?
So I was able to transfer into marketing because of blogging and my Twitter use. Okay. So they thought I was good at top of the funnel, hired me into consulting and promoted me into management fairly quickly. And some of it is authenticity. And LinkedIn, I go hot and cold. I haven't posted on LinkedIn in over a month because I have just been slammed. And I only really post on LinkedIn when I have something to rant about. And I have rants stewing. I just haven't posted them quite yet.
Man, maybe you can start ranting how horrible this experience on this podcast was because your stomach is hurt.
Who the heck does hot sauce?
That? Yes. Like, I gotta go to my doctor, like this guy, and just start. Yeah.
Oh, I'm totally taking an antacid after this. There's no question.
Yeah. No, because I'm looking at, like, I totally agree with you. Building a personal brand, by the way, marketers listening that are in that early stage, if you're in your first couple of years or even your first 5 years of marketing, and you're in that mid to junior level, start your personal brand building now. Because I'll tell you, I started this podcast a year ago. My post on LinkedIn used to probably get, a couple of thousand views, maybe 10 likes, 20 likes. Now it's like regularly hitting 60 plus. I'd run founder events now. So starting to be someone that people go towards for running good events and like being a thought leader. I think that's super duper important.
Right.
Is that what you would do if you were?
Yeah, you have a really good point. Learning to write and learning to do public speaking, both of which I learned actually in high school and through college, have helped me immensely in my career. That I can get on stage and speak. And yes, I can kick back and do a panel or do something like this, but I can also do the TED Talk style, right? I've learned all these different styles of public speaking. And so I'm on stage. Yay. And that helps a lot.
I got invited to do a talk in Vancouver. Maybe we'll have to talk after this and see if you're interested.
Happy to help. I'm happy to help at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. Talk to me about your who Jenn was growing up as a kid. Like, what kind of things were you interested in? What and like your friends and family members that looked at you as a kid. Would they have said, Jenn's going to be a really good CEO one day when you were a kid?
Oh, they thought I was going to be a scientist. They thought I was going to be a scientist or a doctor like my daddy. I was the geeky kid who always was reading a book in the corner. I was tall and skinny with glasses and no depth perception. I was horrible at softball. I rode horses, but was scared of horseback riding. I would go fishing, but I was terrified of like taking the hook out of the fish's mouth. I was that nerdy little girl. And yes, everybody would have told you that I was going to become a scientist, but I just didn't want to go to grad school. And my sister, who's now a tenured professor of biomedical engineering, has been known to say to me that I would have been a great professor and a horrible grad student. So it's probably a good thing I didn't do that.
Wow. That's incredible. And so your dad was a doctor. What about your mom?
My mom was stay at home. My stepmom is a nurse.
Okay. So and do you think you learned quite a bit from your parents on, things that you've learned how were transferable to what you're doing now, or not really?
Yeah. Well, I actually think that the story of my career actually comes down to something that my mother told me when I was a little girl. See, my mother was absolutely brilliant. Graduated from high school at 16 and college at 20 in 3.5 terms, and then was a stay-at-home mom. And she told me once when I was a little girl, well, I'm smarter than your father. My mother apparently also had an ego. And she said, but he has drive that I don't.
Yeah.
And the one thing about me is that I might not know exactly where I'm going or exactly what the next step is, but I am incredibly driven to get there.
That's what your mom said, or your dad said?
Yeah, well, my mom said that my dad had drive, and that inspired me and my drive.
I see. And what drives you? Like, what?
Oh, this weird internal pressure. I am like so type A.
Okay. It's just all about Jenn. It's about being better than Jenn yesterday. Like, is that what drives you, or?
I think it's doing the right thing is very important to me. Not being a perfectionist, but like, is it right? Is it good? Are we moving forward? Are people growing? I have sometimes said I just want I want to inspire people around me to just be a little bit better every day. And I have an incredible internal pressure to see what's over the next hill.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself an extrovert or introvert?
I am an extrovert. I get my energy from being around other people. So I am an energy vampire.
I see. Are you like 100% extrovert, or do you think you're like 80% extrovert and 20% introvert? Because there's all like studies that say that you cannot be 100% one. What are your thoughts?
Right. I mean, heck, my hobbies are books, and I like to listen to podcasts and crochet. Those are very introverted hobbies. But if you're going to ask me, like I always say, when you complete the sentence, I'm so tired, I just want to. An introvert says, go home. And I say, go out.
It's interesting. I'm the same way. Like I spend a lot of time, obviously I podcast a lot. So I am talking to people, but I'm by myself all the time, like all week, all week long. And I'm the same way. Like after a long day, I spend probably 12, 14 hours by myself a day. But after a long day, I just want to go grab a beer and grab some food with other people all the time. Like I'm never tired. I'm never too tired to see people, and I'm the same way. So it's hard.
Yes.
Like some people would call me an introvert because I'm spending so much time alone. But I like to think of myself as, I think I'm like a closeted extrovert that's coming out.
Or it could just be, as we discovered so I'm married to an introvert, and as we discovered, even introverts have their limits. Yeah. Right? During the pandemic, living downtown, we weren't leaving the house. And even my husband was like, I miss bars.
Yeah. No, that's, I think that might have been it, spending so much time indoors.
Yeah.
Last question, or last couple of questions. Anything that keeps you up at night nowadays? Is it mostly your CEO role, or you think about other things nowadays? Like what?
I'm laughing because it's been my upstairs neighbors. They're like elephants. I don't even know. We're actually going to move to a different apartment in this building because they're literally keeping me up at night. I haven't slept through I was up for an hour and a half last night, 3 hours the night before. I'm exhausted.
What are their names? Let's throw them on the pod right now.
I don't know.
Mr. and Mrs. Elephant.
Yeah.
What about like Any
Seriously.
trends that you're thinking about, that you think about a lot, like for example, AI, chat GPT, like thinking about how to incorporate that, or anything that really keeps, that you're thinking about a lot, either during work or even after work, that's related to marketing?
I'm thinking a lot about product-led growth, both that people think it's difficult to measure, except that I have a platform that actually allows you to measure it, but nobody knows. And so, but I also think about my own product-led growth effort and how I don't think it's performing to where it should be. And so that's probably the trend that I'm spending more of my brain power on. And then because most of what interests me is basically what's going to forward the company. And so the two things I'm thinking about are how much GA4 sucks and we're better, and how to measure product-led growth, and how to actually make mine suck less.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think the overall trend that I'm hearing from you and from a lot of people, cutting back on performance marketing and then increasing on something, either product-led growth as a SaaS product, you should be PLG, or focusing on doubling down on community and events. Either one or the other, right? And cutting back on performance. So that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people.
That
Jenn,
makes sense.
this has been super duper fun. I'm not going to get us to do another shot because I think I got to get some food in my stomach. But we will.
Those chips are out.
It was an amazing hour-long conversation. Before we jump out, how can we connect with you? Can we follow you? Like, people that are listening, should we follow you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely.
Is that where you do most of your talking?
LinkedIn's probably the best. I'm Jenn Steele pretty much everywhere. JENNSTEELE. That's LinkedIn, Twitter, although I don't post there much anymore. I believe I'm that on Instagram as well. And if you like pictures of like wine glasses in the Seattle city skyline, then that's pretty much all you'll see on my Instagram.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. Thank you so much, Jenn, for your time. We'll have to get you back for round 2 at some point later on in the year or next year. Hear more about where Kissmetrics is at. But until then, thanks so much for joining. So I hope you liked that episode. Rather than sitting here and telling you to hit that subscribe button or smash the like button, I'll say this instead. Send me a screenshot if you actually liked one of our episodes or you subscribed to our channel, and I'll take the next hot sauce shot with your name on it. Even better, you can come on the show, ask questions, and take hot sauce shots together with the next CEO, CMO, or founder that comes on the show. I hope that you've learned a few things or two listening to some of our episodes. We post every Friday. And finally, if you have any feedback or ways that I can improve the show, let me know. Thanks. See you on the next one.